Why are you here, Paul, tonight?
I'm here for the council debate over the CO2 pipeline, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the Wirral Residents Association. And you can see there's a good attendance there in the background, lots of members of the public, and we've also got members from the Merseyside Residents Association with us tonight. But and just to let you know about this, this CO2 pipeline will be 123 miles long and 40 metres wide, starting in the Peak District of Derbyshire and finishing in Morecambe Bay. It will run through the entire length of Wirral, that's around 15 miles. It's a 36-inch steel pipe and it's going to be 1.2 metres deep. You can tell by the number of people here today that there is a lot of opposition to this. This is an unwanted intrusion, and we're not just going to sit idly by and watch it happen. We're going to fight it. Here on Wirral, this pipeline is destined to tear up 15 miles of scenic, picturesque, largely greenbelt land. There are many hundreds of local people here at Wallasey Town Hall today from all over Wirral who are standing against this. We live here. This unwanted pipeline cannot and will not ever live here. What makes it worse is that £28 million in public money has already been squandered on this so far. And something else that is not being mentioned is the fact that the Morecambe Bay depleted gas field has got a 300-year lifespan. That's 3 centuries. It's going to take 3 centuries before that depleted gas field is filled with CO2. And Peak Cluster, what they're going to do, they're going to, if they go ahead with this, if the government, if Ed Miliband gives his permission, we'll end up with this network in place, and what will happen is that other networks will join onto that, and we'll get pipelines coming from Europe and beyond. So we're going to end up being the waste pipe, possibly for the whole world. Okay, this is not just a steel pipe. There will also be several AGIs, or above ground installations, along the route. These are industrial complexes, they're huge. And these are used to pressurise the CO2 so that it can flow through the pipe as a liquid. These AGIs will be operating 24/7 and will be extremely noisy, a fact admitted to by John Egan, the Peak Cluster CEO. There will be no escaping the noise of the AGI situated in the north of Wirral, near the coast, because it's close to built-up areas and will be heard for miles around, even through the night. The Wirral Coastal AGI will be the largest one of the lot, at 300 by 100 metres, and this is equivalent to roughly 7 or 8 football pitches. It's massive. This will have a chimney or vent stack that will be 50 metres high. That's twice the height of the nearby Liso Lighthouse, and should it go ahead, it will become the second highest structure on Wirral. Not only is this pipeline opposed on environmental grounds, it's also highly dangerous. Being laid at 1.2 metres below the ground, with its route known to everybody, it becomes vulnerable to terrorism and to vandalism. I'll now tell you about a catastrophic incident at a place called Setautia, Mississippi in the USA. A CO2 pipeline rupture occurred here in 2020. The rupture involved a 24-inch pipeline, this is smaller than the Wirral one, operated by Denbury Inc., which was transporting CO2. Prolonged heavy rainfall over several weeks saturated the soil, and this was followed by a landslip. And when this happened, the pipeline snapped like a twig. This released over 31,000 barrels of CO2. Now, CO2 is heavier than air, so it hugs the ground and displaces all oxygen. As we all know, human beings and animals need oxygen to breathe. Shut-off valves were not activated, and the level of the CO2 blanket gradually built up. At 1 metre thick, it asphyxiated all small animals in the area. The invisible cloud keeps on rising, and once it gets to 2 metres thick, then human beings will struggle to breathe and will possibly be asphyxiated. Approximately 50 people were hospitalised in Nastasia with symptoms of CO2 poisoning and oxygen deprivation. This could very easily have been 50 fatalities. Around 200 to 300 residents were evacuated from the area, but that wasn't easy because emergency vehicles approaching the area have petrol and diesel engines, and these stalled when they hit the cloud of CO2 due to the lack of oxygen and could not reach the affected area. Lots of people were later found slumped in their cars. They were trying to get to the local hospital, but their cars wouldn't start. Denbury Inc. were fined $2.8 million after it became clear they'd failed to address the risk of landslips, failed to mitigate the risks of a potential rupture, failed to notify emergency responders, and failed to carry out inspections of the pipeline. All the so-called fail-safes failed, and they were asleep on the job. The Satasha incident has become a cautionary tale for communities like Wirral, who are facing proposed CO2 pipeline projects, and all these serious failures could be repeated here, or in any of the areas where this peak cluster pipeline runs. I'll now talk about environmentally safe alternative methods of creating lime and cement. A few weeks ago, I spoke with John Egan, the CEO of Peak Cluster. This was at the first public consultation in Hoylake Community Centre, and there's a video of me doing this that's out there on YouTube. I told him I'd done some research and discovered around 5 environmentally safe methods of creating concrete and lime, cement and lime, which either did not create CO2 or created much reduced amounts. I asked him whether he'd considered these. He responded that they wouldn't work to scale if we needed to create bridges or large structures, and they wouldn't be ready, so couldn't be brought on stream for another 20 years. That's what he told me. He said we need to act now. I accepted his assurances, but later that evening I researched again and discovered that several countries across the world are using these alternative methods now. So they're way ahead of us. There is actually a plant in Wrexham, North Wales called Mevo A1 Production, which is up and running and creating cement with 85% lower CO2 emissions, and that's just down the road from here. In other words, there is absolutely no need to build this pipeline. It seems John Egan was either incompetent or was not telling the truth. It also seems to me that the only reason to do this is a financial one, i.e. they want to make a lot of money out of it and sod the public. I'd like to just finish on a couple of important words. Wirral is not Britain, Europe and the world's CO2 dustbin. Stop Peak Cluster. We live here, not your pipeline. Thank you.